As a long-time lurker on Reddit, one question I've seen pop up many times in the last year is should I get the Sony 1000XM3s now or wait for the 1000XM4s? The Sony WH-1000XM3 is their current top-of-the-line Bluetooth wireless noise-cancelling headphone. Now, these launched in August 2018 for $350, and they're still today the top-of-the-line noise-cancelling headphone, but they're usually found for less than $250. Now, many people were expecting the 1000XM4s to launch at the end of 2019, but that didn't happen. And then they were expecting some news at CES in 2020, and that also didn't happen. So now there's a lot of questions asking, when is the 1000XM4 coming, and is it still worth to buy the 1000XM3s? So let's take a look at the 1000XM3s now in 2020. What are its strengths and shortfalls? And is the XM4 likely to improve on any of these points? Let's get into it. Hey guys, it's Noel and this is Wheezy Reviews, and this is the Sony WH-1000XM3. Now, if you're familiar with any of my reviews, you should have noticed by now that I really value comfort and build quite highly. It doesn't matter how good a headphone sounds if you can't tolerate wearing it for any long period of time. Now, obviously, comfort is rather subjective. However, I can honestly say that I think that the 1000XM3 has some really excellent comfort features, and I find these extremely comfortable even during extended listening sessions. I can confidently say I could wear these all day and not have any issues. So the headband has this pleather coating and is deeply padded with this soft and plush padding. The weight of the headphone itself is just 255 grams, which, considering this is a wireless headphone that contains a battery, is really quite excellent. The ear pads are nice and large in circumference, so there's plenty of room for your ears. The padding is not especially deep. However, the lining of the driver has this nice soft foam, and the ear pads themselves are memory foam, and they do conform to your head quite nicely. Now, the ear cups have a really good range of lateral and vertical movement, and they do fold flat so that you could wear them around your neck quite comfortably. Clamping force is strong enough that they stay put nicely, but light enough not to cause any discomfort. Now, as a stickler for headphone comfort, I can honestly say that these get top marks from me. Second only to comfort, perhaps the most important feature for any portable headphone is, well, to be portable. So again, the XM3 excels here. As previously mentioned, the weight is a rather light 255 grams, so they're not going to weigh your bag down at all. They're able to fold up in a couple of different ways, so you can fold up the ear cups like this into this little portable package, and they also fold flat like this. Now, they come with this hard shell carrying case in which they can be stored folded flat like so. Now, this case provides ample protection for your headphones, and there's also this stuff pocket on the outside for storing cables and whatnot. Inside, you're going to find another little section here for storing cables, and you also get this little aeroplane adapter, if I can get this out. And you also get this little aeroplane adapter. I really like this case because it's so thin like this. It doesn't take up too much room in your bag. You can kind of just stuff it into the back of your bag, and it's really going to keep your headphones nice and secure. Now, it should come as no surprise that the active noise cancellation in Sony's flagship active noise cancellation headphone is top-notch. But let's talk about what ANC is actually for. So ANC doesn't actually cut out all noise, especially high frequencies. There's no ANC headphone that is able to do this. However, where active noise cancellation excels is in cutting out low-frequency drones such as aeroplane noise, traffic noise, aircon noise, etc. Now, I've not tested the noise cancellation on these versus the Bose QC35-2s, for example. Now, from what I've read, these perform at least as good as those, if not better, especially considering some of Bose's latest firmware updates. But I have tested them back-to-back with the admittedly cheaper Sennheiser HD 4.50 BTN-C and Sony's WH-1000N or Heron 2s, and I have to say that these are the best noise cancellation of the lot. These do an absolutely fantastic job of cutting out the office aircon. Now, they won't completely cut out all of the office chatter, but no headphone will do this. However, they certainly do a better job than any other headphone that I've ever tried. Now, to give an example of the expected performance of the noise cancellation on these, I sometimes wear them whilst doing the household chores. So we've got a combo boiler here, which provides instant hot water. Now, when the hot tap is running, when I'm doing the dishes, for example, I'm going to hear the high frequencies of the water running, but I'm not going to hear the boiler, or at least I'm going to hear it very, very quietly. Now, this is not a quiet boiler, but standing in front of that boiler and then taking the headphones off, it's really, really striking just how much noise has been cut out by these headphones. Now, I also live on a busy street where the traffic noise can get really a bit too much at times, especially when the windows are open. And with the ANC on with these, I cannot hear that traffic at all. In fact, as I was writing this review, I had these on, no music playing, just the ANC on, just to help me concentrate while I was writing. And noise cancellation is either a feature that you think is nice to have, or it's a feature that you think is absolutely necessary. Now, if you think that it's a nice to have feature, then you might not need to spend quite so much on a pair of noise cancelling headphones. And then you can probably prioritize other features. However, if you must have noise cancelling, then the 1000XM3 is truly fantastic. Even now in 2020, it's still right up there at the top. Now, could the 1000XM4 have a significant jump in terms of noise cancelling performance? Possibly, but it's also likely that any gains will be small, but we're just going to have to wait and see. In terms of features, the 1000XM3 is loaded full of all the latest features. It's quite telling that now, a couple of years after release, the 1000XM3 still has all of the features one should expect from an active noise cancelling headphone in 2020. So we've got the USB-C charging, the 30-hour plus battery life, the codec support, the control set and software support. When the 1000XM3 was released, it was simply class leading. And today in 2020, whilst other manufacturers have been playing catch up, I think that still remains true. So let's go over a few of these features then. Now, the codec support is complete. It includes SBC, AAC, aptX, aptX HD, and LDAC. So the inclusion here of aptX, aptX HD, and LDAC means that they're able to use all of the best codecs that are currently available. Now, the Bluetooth version 4.2 is a little bit behind the curve in 2020. A few more obvious benefits from upgrading to Bluetooth 5 could be better battery life, not that 30 hours plus isn't good enough already, more connectivity options for multi-device pairing, and perhaps a reduction in latency for when watching video. Now, how much these features mean to you could be the deciding factor. Now, whilst battery life is pretty decent at 30 hours with noise cancelling on, the XM3 is only able to be paired to a single device at a time, and multi-device pairing is something that I do expect to see implemented in the 1000XM4s, although we are going to have to wait and see if that is actually the case. Now, the 1000XM3 is able to use NFC for quick and painless pairing to your mobile device. Simply tapping your NFC-compatible device to the side of the 1000XM3 initiates a Bluetooth pairing process so that you don't have to do this manually. Now, that's a pretty convenient feature and does go some way to compensating for the lack of multi-device support. The 1000XM3 has a mix of physical and touch controls to operate the various features. There's a dedicated button for cycling the noise cancelling mode. This button can also be remapped to the voice assistant. Most of the remaining controls are actually located on the touchpad on the right hand's ear cup. Now, this touchpad features gesture controls to operate volume, next track and previous track, and answering and ending calls. There's also the quick attention feature, which is enabled by covering the entire touchpad with your hand, which activates ambient mode to allow you a quick way to hear what's going on around you. Now, I should note that some users have complained that the touchpad is quite sensitive to moisture, and that is to say that moisture on the touchpad can cause erroneous touch input. That shouldn't be a big issue, as the XM3 isn't really designed for waterproof use, and I would hesitate to use these in the rain. However, some users have said that in very, very cold conditions where condensation could form on the touchpad, this can cause an issue. Now, I've personally no problem with this, as I never walk around outdoors wearing full-size headphones, and if I did, I wouldn't wear them in adverse weather conditions. However, if you do live in a cold climate and do wear headphones outdoors a lot, that might be something to consider. Now, the 1000XM3 has multiple levels of noise cancelling and ambient sound modes that allow you to hear the outside world or adjust the mix between noise cancelling and ambient. For example, you could set these headphones to have noise cancelling on but allow vocal frequencies through, so you can still be more aware of when people are trying to talk to you. Or you can completely disable noise cancelling and have ambient sound completely on, and that pipes the outside noise directly into the headphone via the external microphones, which allows you to be completely aware of your surroundings. Now, all these features and more can be accessed via the app for your mobile device. Now, also, this app provides an adaptive sound control mode, which automatically adjusts the level of ambient sound or noise cancelling depending on your current activity. For example, if it detects that you are walking, it will turn the ambient sound on for you so that you can be more aware of your surroundings. Now, also in the app are ways to update the firmware, to tweak the EQ, and to configure voice assistant control, and more. Now, as touched on previously, the XM3 has a 30-hour battery life when using noise cancelling. However, that does increase to 38 hours when noise cancelling is disabled. Now, I find this really excellent, as I found that when using my headphones for a few hours a day at work, this would get me through the entire week without needing to recharge. And recharging is done via USB-C charging cable and takes just 3 hours. Now, if you do run out of battery, you also have the option to use these headphones in a wired mode using the included 1.2 meter cable. The XM3 has a 16 ohm impedance and 101 dB SPL when operating in passive wired mode, that's with the headphones turned off. But it is also possible to use these in an active mode with the headphones turned on with a wired connection. And that bumps up the impedance to 47 ohms and 104.5 dB SPL. So these are pretty sensitive headphones and should be pretty easy to drive off of any device really, which is to be expected as they do need to be driven by its own inbuilt amp. So that makes sense. All in all, this feature set is really quite fantastic. Now, what improvements Sony can bring for the WH-1000XM4, they might be small refinements, but we'll have to wait and see. It is clear that the WH-1000XM3 is not lacking in the feature department. So the WH-1000XM3 launched at $350 or £330 as of right now. As I write this review, Amazon have the WH-1000XM3 for $240, and I've also seen them in the US for $255. They're routinely going for sub $250 prices, and we can expect the WH-1000XM4 to cost at least $350 when they launch. So will they be worth the extra $100? I think that remains to be seen. So let's talk about sound. So I think that the sound quality of the WH-1000XM3 is actually pretty good, although audiophiles most likely will not be satisfied. So let me set your expectations here. There are refined and musical headphones, there are aggressive and analytical headphones, there are exciting and V-shaped headphones, and then there are headphones like the WH-1000XM3, which are relaxed and casual headphones. This is a headphone with a particular focus on portability, wireless convenience, and active noise cancellation. It is a given that anyone buying such a headphone is looking probably features first and sound quality second. Of course, it would be ideal if there existed the perfect headphone that not only included all these features, but also a great analytical audiophile grade sound, but I don't think we're quite there yet. Now, perhaps sound quality is one key area that could be improved for the WH-1000XM4, but that remains to be seen. However, the WH-1000XM3 certainly does sound pretty decent for a casual headphone. It has this rather relaxed and enjoyable fun sound signature that, whilst it's not an audiophile grade level of detail or neutral, I have to ask, does that really matter? Now, if I'm using a portable headphone for the purposes of enjoying some music whilst I'm on the go and I want to block out some external noise whilst trying to concentrate on my work, do I care if the headphone I'm wearing is not super detailed? The answer is, of course, no. Now, in fact, if this were super detailed headphone, I'd most likely be distracted by it instead of working because I'd be getting too lost in the music. Also, if I'm busy getting to and from work on the train and taking full advantage of the various noise cancelling and ambient sound modes, do I really care that the bass line in whatever track I'm listening to is a little bit muddy? Not at all. So let's talk about the sound more specifically then. Timbre is okay. There's nothing that really stands out as wrong. Imaging is okay as well, and soundstage seems to vary depending on the noise cancelling or ambient mode currently being used. Soundstage is actually pretty good at times. They definitely don't sound as cramped as an M50X, for example, but don't go expecting it to sound wide open or anything. In terms of frequency response, in a word, bassy. This isn't specifically a bass-focused headphone, and that accolade goes to Sony's XB range of headphones, where the XB literally stands for extra bass. However, these are about as bassy as any headphone should be that's not specifically focused at bass heads. The problem with the bass with the WH-1000XM3 is not so much that it is boosted, it's that it's bloated and rubbery and boomy in places. Now, bass lines are big, but they're not particularly defined. There's a significant warmth filling the entire low end, and particularly for rock, blues, and jazz-based genres, this is really quite overpowering. You're basically looking at a 5 dB bass shelf from about 200 Hz all the way down into the sub-bass. Now, having said that, for bass-focused genres such as EDM and hip-hop, that's where the 1000XM3 really come into their own, and they're really quite enjoyable with this nice full and large sound. They don't quite have that slam that makes EDM genres super exciting, but it does kind of suit that more casual style. In terms of mid-range, the mid-range has seemingly gone AWOL, although it doesn't actually sound like the mid-range is recessed. It seems like it's been swallowed up by the low end. Vocals are not forwards or recessed, but they're just fighting for room in the mix. Unfortunately, I think that the low end has really made everything below maybe 1 kHz just sound muddy and indistinct. Treble is interesting. It's quite smooth. It's not too peaky or grainy sounding. However, it is quite recessed in the low to mid treble, particularly between around 2 kHz and 8 kHz, by as much as 5 dB in places. And the result of this is that the overall sound signature is really quite dark. There's a little bit of sparkle somewhere between 8 and 10 kHz, but after this, the treble just seems to just roll off a cliff. Okay, so that sounds bad, right? Well, yes, but also no. As much as this is lacking somewhat in terms of technicality, detail, dynamics, it's quite bass overboosted and bloated, just reset your expectations to what this headphone actually is for a moment. This is a casual, that's important, casual, portable wireless headphone with a fantastic feature set, with a focus on noise cancelling, and it has this relaxed, warm, bassy tilt with no harshness in the treble. It has basically a really rather mainstream sound signature, which could be argued is actually perfect for the casual use case that this headphone is intended. You could listen to pretty much anything on these, even the most energetic music, and they would make it sound soft and relaxing, which I think is actually just the ticket for when you're trying to get some rest on a long flight, for example. So like I said previously, this is not a sound signature that's going to satisfy an audiophile. Would I prefer a more neutral, or at least less of that 5 dB bass shelf signature with some actual detail? Yeah, of course. But I think for the intended use case of these headphones, the shortcomings of this sound signature are entirely forgivable, and the intended mainstream audience will no doubt enjoy that bassy and relaxing sound. Okay, so do I buy the 1000XM3 now, or do I wait for the 1000XM4? Well, this is the age-old question in the world of technology. Upgrade now or wait? There's never a one-size-fits-all correct answer to that. The chances are that the 1000XM4 will be an incremental upgrade on the 1000XM3, perhaps seeing an upgrade to Bluetooth 5, maybe with an improvement to the ANC, and perhaps the control scheme, if at all, and maybe a tweak to the sound signature. However, it would not surprise me if the sound signature isn't much different from the 1000XM3, with its more casual and mainstream vibe, rather than an audiophile-focused sound. And of course, you're going to need to decide which of those features are actually worth waiting for. And then there's the price, currently at sub 250 of your local currency. To my mind, the 1000XM4, which is likely going to launch for at least 350, is going to have to offer some significant upgrade on the XM3 to be worth that extra $100. Now, even once the XM4 does launch, the XM3 doesn't suddenly stop becoming a good package. To my mind, the XM3 is already an excellent active noise cancelling package for a good price. It's likely that the XM4 will only be slightly better, but at $100 more. And to me, I think actually the biggest threat to the XM3 is not actually from the XM4, but from Sony's older active noise cancelling headphone, the WH-1000N, aka the Heron 2, which is actually a fantastic headphone with many of the same features as the XM3, and actually a slightly less bass bloated sound. And what's more, they can be found for usually less than $150. And what's more, if you're after just a super portable audio solution, then you'll get much better value from IEMs. A similar but albeit less bass boosted sound signature is the Blonde BL3s, which can be had for less than $30. And then you have the Tin T4s, which have a much more neutral sound signature for around $100. And there's many, many other options. But having said all of this, I think if you are after a feature-packed wireless headphone with top-of-the-line noise cancelling and a relaxed but casual sound signature, then the Sony WH-1000XM3s is certainly still worth the look, even now in 2020. Right, so that's going to be it then. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then don't forget to leave a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing by hitting that red button down there, maybe the bell right next to it. And if you're looking to support the channel, if you check down in the description, there'll be a bunch of links on how you might be able to do that. I'm going to have a lot more content like this coming out soon, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one.